You are watching this right now, folks. CFN Dubai, December 6th, your main event. Ansem versus Big Boy. This is a main event you don't want to miss, folks. Once again, Crypto Fight Night Dubai, December 6th. Get ready, it's gonna be wild. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, please make some noise. Give yourselves a big round of applause for your main event. Handsome versus Big Boy, CFN Dubai, December 6th. You are watching
That's gonna be pretty funny. Bit Boy is gonna fight. I should know that guy's name too. I just forget it. And in Dubai, I might have to go. Bit Boy, I wonder how much he got paid for that. Bit Boy, a lot of you guys, if you're in the business anyway, you saw his kind of total meltdown. I mean, I actually haven't, but everybody else did, I guess. Watch his kind of rise to stardom, trading on his YouTube channel and everything else. I mean, of course, I know who he is, but I don't know him personally. And anyway, yeah, Bit Boy. He went through some hard times there. He had a very public girlfriend, and he's married with kids. And I don't know if the girl took him. Someone took him to the cleaners. His partners took him to the cleaners, and he got arrested live streaming. I mean, it's like, I don't know. They said he was doing drugs. He says he wasn't doing drugs. Who knows? I don't really care either. But certainly has been fairly entertaining to watch. Now, good morning. You are watching on TV on the Smart Money Culture TV network. We're also live around the world on YouTube and Instagram and Facebook, and Rumble, and all those other ones. It is a great day today. It is beautiful here in the District of Columbia. Beautiful week. It has been a beautiful week this week, and it has been a beautiful week as well in the markets. We certainly, if you are following our signals, you probably did pretty well. Well, if you're following our signals, you did well. We certainly did well. So hopefully you did well too. And you're able to play that. I mean, I'm going long, I'm going short, I'm going long, going short. Mostly long now, but yeah, it was fun. It was a lot of fun. So we are, of course, working on ways for everybody to be more involved in that. But if you do want to trade and just follow the signals, trading can be a wonderful way for you to make extra money. It can be a lot of fun. And it's, right now with the central banks doing what they're doing, this is, maybe something that you want to do more of. So the title of today's show is Currency of Chaos, Decoding the Central Banking Cartel's Moves. Middle East unrest and Zelenskyy in D.C. break out another $100 billion for Ukraine and Israel's safety under the guise of stopping illegals from voting. House Speaker Johnson wears no clothes. So it's pretty interesting because Speaker Johnson is he really got called out this time. He's kind of, I guess in years past, they're always able to just do whatever, right? And so he tried to just push this bill through under the guise, this CR, this funding CR, under the guise of, we're going to stop the illegals from voting. And there's really, first of all, it's not going to stop the illegals from voting, right? Number one. And actually, thank God that we have Thomas Massey, because Thomas Massey just breaks it all down, and that we have X, because that's where all the voters are, and we can all watch and look, and stuff they wouldn't put on TV. a clean bill. I should share this because he says it even better. I mean, I say it, but of course it looks it's always good to third party it. So here's Rep. Massey on the matter. He says, "Who could have predicted this? A clean bill that funds the government without a SAVE Act and no cuts to spending." Okay, this is just well, actually, let's not play that first because this is the one I want to play. Nope, it's this one. Today, we vote on a continuing resolution that will fund the government, that will fund all the government in one bill and doesn't cut a penny. I spoke on the House floor this morning to urge my colleagues not to participate in this unserious and insecure political theater. So the clip that I want is actually right here. This is the one I'm going to play. This is the one you want to watch. That's what's going to tell us, break it all down. But real quick, before I get into that, there's a reason why taxes have to go up. If you want to know how much you're being taxed, don't look at what those guys tell you. Don't look at what even you're being taxed, because of course they're taxing you on the other end with inflation. This guy says it best. So I'm going to share this guy first, and then I'm going to share this, because you look at how much they're spending. So if they're constantly increasing spending, then your taxes are going up. Period. End of statement. That's it. That's the way it works. If they're increasing spending, your taxes are going up. Okay. And this guy explains it even a little bit better here. I got a great video for you.
Keep your eye on one thing and one thing only: how much government is spending. Because that's the true tax. Every budget is balanced. There is no such thing as an unbalanced federal budget. You're paying for it. If you're not paying for it through it in the form of explicit taxes, you're paying for it indirectly in the form of inflation or in the form of borrowing. The thing you should keep your eye on is what government spends. And the real problem is to hold down government spending as a fraction of our income. And if you do that, you can stop worrying about the debt.
So now I'm going to switch over, because see, it's so important what he said. Okay. Keep an eye on what the government spending. And so the point Massey makes here in this video I'm about to play is that we keep increasing our spending. We keep increasing. And it's what I'm saying too. And it's one of the reasons why I think they keep trying to assassinate Trump, is because he's saying he's going to cut taxes. And they're like, no, you can't cut taxes, because the Federal Reserve always gets the same amount. It's always the same number. Their interest rate payment is the same amount of federal income tax. Okay. So if we're always increasing, if every year is increasing, then obviously taxes go up. That's just the way it works. So here was Thomas Massey. Now, Thomas Massey, again, with the emperor wears no clothes, right? I mean, this is like, he really did a number on Speaker Johnson this time around, because everybody saw this and everybody knew it was a total sham. This is, you talk about political theater. This is political theater right here. Listen to the great Thomas Massey. I refuse to be a thespian, he says. Oh, shoot. Hold on. I got to add it to the screen. My daughter introduced me to this new word, thespian. I guess I'd heard it before, but it's a theater person, a person that loves theater, a thespian. My daughter loves theater. I said, oh, I thought that's, we were laughing. Anyway.
I would call him Mr. Massey.
Can we be honest with the American people about what's going on here? This is political theater. I'm going to call out both sides right here. It's all posturing. It's fake fighting. We all know where it ends up. This is Groundhog Day. I don't care if the Democrat is the speaker or Republican is the speaker. We always get a CR in September, and then we get an omnibus. Sometimes there's a twist on that. We might get the omnibus before Christmas, but if we're not good, it comes after Christmas. But that's what's going to happen. And in the meantime, it's political theater. We've got it's good theater. We've got great writers. I wish they'd just come up with a new plot. It's the same plot every fiscal year. What should we be doing? It's already been discussed. We should have done 12 separate bills. We should have done 12 separate bills. But again, whether Democrats are in control or Republicans are in control, we never do the 12 separate bills. Why do we always spend at least as much as we did last year, and why do we never cut spending? It's because Democrats want to grow the welfare state and Republicans want to grow the military industrial complex. And we're eventually going to get together and they're both going to go up. I guarantee it. And both parties are just fine letting the bureaucrats do their thing, which should be our thing, according to Article 1, Section 8 in the Constitution. We are empowered with these things. Most important of the things we do is the funding, and that's the big lever we have. You know, I've sat through now almost 2 years of hearings in this Congress where we've exposed lies at the CDC, shortcuts at the FDA, unconstitutional gun bans at the ATF, over prosecution of January 6ers at the DOJ, targeting commons, the FBI, spying by the NSA, illegal mandates for livestock by the USDA, targeting plant vaccine or transgenic plant vaccine at the NSF, and censorship, the censorship industrial complex at the end of which the NSF is part of, automobile kill switch at the DOT. Now, these are all things I think most Democrats are just fine with, this kind of totalitarian state that the bureaucrats are pushing on us. But Republicans at least pretend to be against these things. But what are we going to do this September? We're going to fund every freaking one of those things that we have exposed. That is the tool that we have, is the funding. Why are we funding things we don't like? We don't have to. Well, it's because we're addicted to spending. And this doesn't do anything about the addiction at all. So let me touch on one point too here that I think is important. Is, you know, a couple years ago, or a summer and a half ago, I suppose now, we did something where we allowed the debt limit to be increased. But as a condition of that, we said if you do a CR that lasts past April 30th, everything's going to get cut 1%. And that, to me, seemed like at least a little tinge of fiscal responsibility was creeping in. But now I notice that this CR, instead of going 1 year and giving us time to do the 12 appropriations bills, is going to go 6 months. Now, let me tell you what's going to happen because this goes 6 months. Number one, it ends in March 28th, on March 28th. Well, the automatic cuts happen on April 30th if the CR went past that. So that is exactly why the speaker chose a 6-month CR, is so we don't have even the chance, a threat to this town. It's a threat of a 1% cut. We don't want to even, this is like T-ball. The 1% cut is on the tee and Republicans won't even swing at it. So instead, we're going to do a 6-month CR instead of a 1-year CR. That sets up another crisis next spring where we can do another pretend fight sometime around March. And that fight it'll be the same fight regardless of who wins the presidency and who's in charge of the Senate and the House. And we're basically going to get pretty much the same result. But that's 6 months from now. In the meantime, we can kick the can down the road. All of these things that we've exposed and all of these hearings are going to continue to get funded. But wait, there's a bright, shiny object on this CR. I've never seen one of these. I have never seen a bright, shiny object attached to one of these must-pass bills. Oh, wait, no. It actually happens. There always is a bright, shiny object, a bauble, if you will. A little something to get excited about. This SAVE Act, it's going to save us all, right? And by the way, this is good political theater. I do like this part of it, that we're going to see almost every Democrat cast a vote so that illegals can vote in our elections. I mean, that's pretty clever on the part of our speaker to set that up, make you all take that vote. But here's what he's going to do after you take that vote. He's going to take it off. The bright, shiny object goes away. It's Lucy and the football again. And the American public is all revved up. Yeah, we're going to get to save it. We're going to save these elections. We're going to stop the illegals from voting. Really? How are you going to do that in like 6 weeks? I think they're already registered if they're going to vote. Some of them probably already voted. This SAVE Act ain't going to save anything. And particularly because it ain't ever going to become law. It's a false promise to get all the Republicans half pregnant. And then you're going to get fully pregnant by the end of September when you vote for this CR. That is not going to have this. I mean, I hate to break this to you. I mean, the Democrats already know this. I'm not telling you anything special. I hate to break it to the Republicans. You ain't getting the SAVE Act. It is not going to stay on this bill. Why? Because we're going to cave. We're going to cave. Is it a fight worth having? Absolutely, it's a fight worth having. Make those Democrats say they want illegals to vote. Make them take that vote as many times as you can. And then make them go to the ballot box in November. But that's what it is. It's political theater, folks. We all know where it ends up. We've seen it. I've been here 12 years. I've seen it 12 times. I refuse to be a thespian in this failure theater. And with that, I yield back.
I refuse to be a thespian, he says. I mean, that's pretty funny. So, yeah, it's exactly what I was saying. It's really great. I love this guy, Thomas Massey. I mean, he just says it like it is. He says it like it is. It is exactly what's going to happen. And so Speaker Johnson got the bill pushed right back at him. I mean, they're going to pass something. It's going to be ridiculous. But at least it wasn't under the guise and have everybody running around, because a lot of times what happens is, oh, we're going to do it. And then you have even all the MAGA voters and they're like fighting with each other. Oh, no, we need to do this. But here we go. This guy exposed it all. Let's talk the markets. I have the great Matt Dixon here. Sir Matt, we're heading into another weekend. We've had another great week here. I've had some fun in the markets. How you doing?
Yeah, it's been fantastic, hasn't it? I mean, we got what we wanted, more than we wanted, to be honest, with the Fed rate decision, minus 50 basis points. Didn't really expect that, but the bond markets did. The bond markets were actually pricing it in. So, yeah, they got it right. The markets usually get it right.
Well, and BOJ, of course, kind of steady, you know, some hawkish comments, but, you know, steady as well. And then just kind of steady as she goes.
Yeah, everybody was expecting the BOJ to stand pat, no change there. But most likely they're probably going to raise rates maybe December, not the next meeting, but probably December. So that may set the cat amongst the pigeons then. We'll have to see. But at least if they signal it, at least if they signal it well in advance, then I guess there's going to be less impact. So I'll just jump on to sharing my screen. It has been a fantastic day in the market, or a couple of days, I guess.
Even up and down. I mean, some risky, timing trades, but they've worked out. It has been a fun time in the markets.
Yeah, I mean, it really has. We anticipated pretty well everything that's happened. Got all these divergences. I guess you can see my screen now. I'm looking at Solana right now. I think we're due a bit of a pullback right now. We've had such a good run. Yeah. I mean, we get down to low 120s. I think the price is mid 120s. Right now it's over, where is it right now? 150, over 150. Wow. So it's been doing really well. So we had this ABC move down. I'll just open it out a little bit so you can see it very clearly. Well, first of all, we'll just look at these divergences. So right back here, some time ago, we got hidden bearish divergence. Told us that price was going to go down. Precisely on the button, it went down. Then we got some regular bullish divergence here. And you can, just to summarize again, basically when you get this hidden bearish, it's basically lower highs on price and it's corresponding higher highs up here on RSI. Then we got regular bullish. So hidden bearish divergence, by the way, tells you of a continuation of the downtrend in price, and that's precisely what happened. Then we got regular bullish here, where we got lower lows on price and higher lows on RSI. That tells you of a reversal in price, precisely what happened, right on the dot, and price started to move higher. And then we got, after that, we got hidden bullish divergence, where you got basically higher lows on price and lower lows on RSI. That told us right here that we're going to get a pump in price. That happened pretty much on the FOMC meeting. So this indicator was telling us actually what was going to happen before the results of the FOMC meeting. So absolutely amazing that it can do that. So how powerful.
And this is interesting. We talk about it a lot, but these sequences that play out on the charts, they coincide many times with things like that. The meeting of the FOMC. I mean, it is really amazing. These things, how these things work out.
only some specific indicators, but basically they tell you something's going to happen, and then you basically say, okay, what news is going to make that happen, or what's going to, some news will come along to make it happen. It tells you what's going to happen before it happens. So we got that. We were expecting a strong impulse to the upside because this was 3 waves down. I'll just open it out a little bit. That's what I was doing before. So we can clearly see here, we got 5 waves down. So you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's no overlap between 4 and wave 1. Wave 3 was extended. It's a perfect 5 wave down. Now, it was an A wave, a larger A wave. Then we got a 3 wave move up for the B wave. And then we got a 5 wave move down for the C wave. That's called a zigzag, 5, 3, 5. So that's a zigzag correction. Zigzags are always corrective. So following a correction, you then expect an impulse. And that's precisely what we see here. After the FOMC meeting, following this hidden bullish divergence, we got massive impulsive move to the upside. And I don't know whether, well, I won't bother going into it now because I think we're going to be fairly limited on time, but we got a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Wave 3 was a perfect extension of wave 1. It's a nice Fibonacci relationship there. And then we're getting wave 5. May or may not be complete. I think we're getting towards the completion of wave 5. If we're not complete already, we may be complete already. So after 5 wave moves up, 5 wave move up, you then would expect 3 waves back. At least 3 waves back. It can be more than that, but a minimum 3 waves back. So risk reward is beginning to look reasonably attractive now to look at shorts. We've had some good longs in this market. I think people made some really good money out of it. All the follows on X, you know, we told them all in advance what's going to happen. So I think people have done very well out of this. So risk reward, as I say, is looking reasonably good for shorts. If you don't short the market, fine, but might be worth maybe taking some profit around these levels if you're long the market. I don't think there's that much to go in this particular impulse that we have now. As I say, we'd expect a minimum 3 waves pullback at the moment. So that's been really good. We'll look at Bitcoin very briefly. Similar kind of move, looking amazing, but there are some warning signs just beginning to come out. Let me go on to daily, slightly longer term, just to put these divergences in context properly, to show you exactly where we are. This is the big move. So big impulsive move to the upside. That was to the all-time high for Bitcoin, 73,000 and odd. And then we got this choppy movement back. This choppy movement tells us it's corrective, and it tells us we are going to go to new all-time highs, I believe, at some point. But it's really difficult with a correction. They're very choppy, zigzaggy affairs like this, and it's hard to know when it's over. This could be a triangle, E-wave finishing here, and we could have started to move up already. If so, we've got much, much higher to go straight away. Or it could be a more complex correction, some kind of WXY correction, where potentially we could even have more downside to come. So there's uncertainty right now with Bitcoin. So as I say, for me, it's time to crystallize some profits. And as we always say, you only ever get a profit when you actually
take a profit.
Yeah, close your investment. Otherwise, you'll never see a profit. If you just wait for it's just on paper. If you just wait and wait and wait, never take profits. I mean, you've got to get some enjoyment out of the money you're making at some time. That's so right. Potentially, this is a 1, 2, 3, or it's a WXY or an ABC, whatever it is. But what's giving me a few reasons or cause for thought, we did have right here regular bullish divergence. So I'd have to check that. So probably on a different time frame, to be honest. But we got regular bullish divergence anyway. That's telling us, again, this was the FOMC meeting, telling us price was going to rally to the upside. Exactly what happened. But right now, when would you close your trade? Well, you close the trade when you get the opposite divergence. This one is actually hidden bearish divergence. So this was regular bullish. This is hidden bearish. And it's telling you that there's likely to be a continuation of this downside move for the time being. So I think, I mean, prices, this is a daily chart, by the way. So you don't actually confirm your divergence until the day's candle has closed. So I'm a little bit premature here, and I wouldn't make a trade decision based on the intraday price, because price could still rally up and it would then invalidate this divergence. In fact, the divergence would disappear completely. Wouldn't be invalidated, it would actually be validated, but there wouldn't be divergence if price goes above the level here, the level point here.
And we very well could have the market makers push the market up for a good close of the week, which would be I think probably around noon Eastern Standard Time.
Quite possibly. If we do get a good close, then we've had a really good run from Wednesday through Friday, and then you would expect this to be most likely a pullback over the weekend. So again, be cautious with your positioning. If you've got some nice profits in the bag, I'd be tempted to take them. I'd expect if we get a strong run now, today even, I'd expect there to be some kind of retracement over the weekend. So as I say, for me, it's probably time to crystallize some of those profits that you should have been making, hopefully, over the last few days. Even before the FOMC meeting, as we said, it was scalping heaven. There's loads of opportunities there. So whatever the circumstances, there are different trade strategies you can use to take profit and make profit and so on, and protect profits. So that's that. We've had a really nice move up also with Ethereum. You can see that. Again, we got regular bullish divergence here, very clearly signaled. Don't know why these things keep moving around, but anyway, it's correct. I'll just put that in its proper place. Yeah, so here you can see we have regular bullish divergence where they do keep moving around for some reason, where we basically got lower lows on price and higher lows on RSI, corresponding RSI. That told us there's going to be a pump in price from this point here. That's precisely what happened, and it's been a really good move. So from 2,200 now to 2,550. So very, very good percentage move there. It's more than 10%, isn't it? So yeah,
nice move. Yeah, Ethereum did kind of it had a nice day. It's had a nice day yesterday. Yeah. I think.
Yeah, pretty much everything is looking really good today. Best one, of course, is Solana. Best in terms of percentage moves. That's the one I've been playing lately. And again, just going back to 4 hour on that. Got all the divergences in play. And like Bitcoin, again, we're probably just about finished wave 5. I think we're set for at least a 3-wave pullback. It could potentially be more, because from the bottom point here, we could have 3 waves up, 3 waves down, and then 5 waves up. That could be what's called a flat correction overall. And then you could expect much lower. So this is why I'm being cautious now. We've got some nice profits in the bag. Let's just crystallize those profits and basically live to fight another day. So very often,
you always want some dry powder. That's dry powder is your friend.
And it's always good to reassess the situation when you made some good profits. Don't be greedy. They're the 2 big enemies of traders: fear and greed. So don't get greedy and try to make more and more and more. Obviously, try to get the most out of the move. But bearing in mind, we are coming up to the weekend. There'll be thin liquidity. There could be geopolitical issues. Anything could happen. So good to crystallize some profits and then just reassess the market over the weekend. Take a bit of time to look at where we're at in the market. Maybe Monday morning, see where the markets are opening, what's happened. And then, you can perhaps, if you are really convinced it's an upward market, you could jump in probably at lower prices after the weekend.
Yes.
So it's not a bad thing to do.
And remember, normally what the big guys will do is they will, it's not always. Sometimes, you'll have these not freak things, but they'll pump the market over the weekend, and then okay, fine. But you remember, you just want to win trades. You know what I mean? But a lot of times, I would say the majority of the times, they will push down the market prices on Sunday, and so they have a good entry point.
Yeah, it often depends on how we went in the run up to the weekend. So if we've had a strong bullish run up to the weekend, then often they'll pull back. It actually takes out more people's stop losses and reduces people's profits and so on. And they can do that during a quiet market quite easily. But if we've had a run down into the weekend with prices, very often, again, the weekend will take prices in the opposite direction, actually push prices higher. And they have computer systems that work out which way to move prices to actually take the most money off the traders and punters out there. So it often works that it goes against the prevailing trend as you entered the weekend. Here's gold. We've been very bullish gold, been saying it's going to go to new all-time highs over and over, and it's done it yet again. Brand new all-time high. We've got a small wave 3, a wave 3 here. We've got a wave 4, which is an ABC, very clear ABC wave 4. Then we've got a 5-wave move here, quite clear from this 4 here. wave up there, 1, down for 2, up for 3, down for 4, up for 5. Now, it may not be finished, and bear in mind, gold, very often with commodities like gold, wave 5 is often a very extended wave. So we already have an extended wave 3 here. It's well beyond 1.618. So it's already extended, but very often with commodities, you get an even more extended wave 5. So I do think gold's got a long way to go. On this particular cycle, I think we're probably nearing the end of this particular run. We'll get a little bit of a pullback, but on the bigger cycles, we've still got higher to go. So I'm still very, very bullish gold longer term. I'm a bit surprised about DXY, dollar index.
It has been interesting.
Yeah, it has been. We've had this. We've been talking about this long-held support line, and once again, it just spiked below, but hasn't managed to hold below the line. Each time it spiked below, but not managed to hold below. So at the moment, that long-held support, which is from right back from, it's almost a year now, December 23. It's long-held support there, and it's looking right now as though dollar is holding. So if dollar does manage to get a rally from here, and that is possible, if it gets a rally from here, maybe that'll give us a bit of a pullback that we're talking about on these crypto assets. So again, everything ties together. Just a matter of trying to fit all those jigsaw pieces to give you a clear picture. And I just think we haven't managed to close below it. So I'm not convinced on this market. We've had a great little bull run. I think it's time to, as I say, take profits, because this is another little slightly concerning sign that the dollar hasn't fallen as expected, when we're seeing not only a 0.5% cut, which was more than a lot of people expected, but also the fact that they're likely to cut a lot more into the future.
Yeah.
So they've already signaled that there's going to be rate cuts, more rate cuts coming. This is just the beginning of the rate cutting cycle. So with that in mind, a bit surprising that the dollar isn't weaker than it is. So that just, as I say, so it gives me a little bit of concern that maybe we need to be cautious at least. We'll take a quick look around a couple of other assets just before we close. Toncoin, one of our favorites. Again, I think we've had 5 waves up. It may even be that 1, 2, may even be that wave 3 can be moved up to here. I'd have to check the Fibonacci levels, extensions. Wave 4 and finishing on a wave 5 higher. Or it could be that we finish the 5 waves up. So maybe Toncoin's leading the way at the moment. Finish 5 waves, then we get A, we get B, and then we get a C down. So as I said, a bit like Bitcoin, a bit like Solana, I'm expecting a correction down as a minimum of 3 waves. This could be giving us 3 waves down. So maybe Toncoin's leading the way. It doesn't mean there's anything special as to why it's leading the way, but often you do see particular assets at certain times leading the way. Even the likes of, for example, XRP sometimes leads the way. At the moment, it's lagging a bit. It's not really benefited in the same way as a lot of tokens have. We've had a bit of a move up, but again here we have. I'll just put this in its correct place. Let's just see. No, we don't have divergence here, I don't think. Oh, we do have very, very mild divergence. Yeah, very, very mild divergence there. So we've got basically we've got lower price peaks here, as you can see, and corresponding, absolutely corresponding, perfect, So we've got corresponding slightly higher RSI peak. So telling us this one would be what's called hidden bearish divergence, telling us the continuation of downside. So again, XRP has not really performed the way a lot of people were hoping. They've got a massive, XRP army. They've got a massive following, but they're not managing to pass that through onto the price at the moment. So XRP has been lagging a little bit. So that's one of my least favorites at the moment, because I just can't see any powerful impulses there. But bear in mind as well, XRP can surprise. It's that token that often surprises, isn't it?
Yeah, man, that's how they roll. They make everybody get bored, sell your position, you get in something that's moving, and then boom.
Absolutely, that's exactly it. Yeah, and it's happened to me. Happened to me on many occasions. So
all of us. They're the most professional traded coin I've seen.
Yeah,
by far.
I don't think we've touched SPX, have we, just yet? So
we have not.
SPX, yeah. So again, we've got some nice divergences in play. So we got this one, which was basically, again, I don't know why it's probably on a different time frame, but we had here a hidden bullish divergence, and basically we got the price move up from there. We got that was after an ABC correction down, by the way, so it's a perfect entry point when we got the divergence signal as well. Beautiful time to jump in. Price has moved up dramatically since then, and again since the FOMC meeting, had another really good move in price to new all-time highs for the S&P 500. So that's fantastic, and we've been talking about it for such a long time that it's coming, and it's delivered beautifully. So again, if we looked on that on a shorter time frame, we'll see that there's potentially 5 waves up from this low point. So 1, 2, 3, somewhere around here, whether it's here or here. 4, I'm working maybe on a 5th at the moment. So I think I just have to check the levels there. Can't see where the 5th, the 3rd is, whether it ends there or there at the moment. So I have to analyze on a shorter time frame. But anyway, we're somewhere there or thereabouts. We may get another little push up today. Who knows? But I think that we're due a pullback fairly soon on the SPX, S&P 500. So that would correspond with most of the markets, the Dow, the Nasdaq, and probably the world markets as well. So I think we've had a really good run, and I think we are due probably a bit of a pullback. So for me, it's just time to take some profit.
Enjoy your weekend.
Store up.
Take some profit. Enjoy your weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. Enjoy your weekend. That's the right attitude. So you don't need to worry about positions over the weekend. Just close your positions. Have a great weekend, having stored some profits, and yeah, that's it. So I think we're done for today. Thanks so much for listening. Look forward to new week next week, and look forward to catching up then.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I'm sure we'll be talking, but enjoy and
absolutely, yeah. Thank you, Bruce. Thank you, everybody. All the best. Enjoy your weekend.
All right, well, there you have it, folks. And I did want to mention, I put the little banner at the bottom, and then I'm going to play this video. This was because we talked about Zelenskyy, and we talked about Ukraine, and we talked about all this stuff on this interview. So I'm going to play it. It's an interview with my friend Gordon Einstein. But Zelenskyy is here in DC, and I'm looking around yesterday. I'm wondering what in the world is going on. Like, what is going on here? And anyway, yeah, I mean, they're closing down entire blocks for this guy. Unbelievable. I mean, more than the president. This guy, they're like closing everything down. Like, no cars can move, no people can move, like entire blocks for this guy. It's crazy, guys. It's crazy. Anyway, this is an interview I did with my friend Gordon Einstein. Gordon Einstein is he's a great guy. He's a crypto lawyer in Dubai, and he has a lot of great stuff. And we sat down and we talked a bit. There's a lot of good stuff on this. So I'm going to play this again, round off our week here.
Okay, it looks like we're recording. Yes. Okay, very good. Everyone.
Actually, we were recording, I think, the whole time. So you have the back office stuff too.
That's my AI. So I'm not going to get any money from this, but I use read.ai. It's better than Firefly, and it's better than Otter because it makes meeting summaries, and it's cool. And we'll process Russian and German also. And as a Russian spy, I appreciate having my meeting notes summarized. When I
they're all listening. I can tell you that right away. I mean, we have like at least 15 agencies tuning in right now.
I know that's why my Zoom says 20 agencies but 18 unnamed. So it's like when you turn on your Wi-Fi and it says FBI van.
Right, exactly.
Actually, my Wi-Fi is called Iranian Revolutionary Guard. Do you think that's bad? Okay. Anyways, folks. God, he interrupted me. He threw me off track. Okay, this is Gordon, somewhat friendly local Dubai crypto attorney focused on blockchain, crypto, and everything else. It's my pleasure, however, to get out of my lawyer hat or take off my lawyer hat and engage the community because it gives me a good excuse to talk to cool people who are doing things differently than me, people who are sometimes smarter than me, people who have a different perspective. And I like to share these conversations with my ever expanding massive audience. The trend is right. The trend is my friend. So I am very happy to bring Bruce Porter onto the show. I've known Bruce for years. He has a very successful show and channel that he'll describe, and we'll also drop into the show notes. He's also, I'm finding out, a nice and loving dad. And we'll get the whole story right there. He's where I want to be in a few years. So good job, Bruce. Welcome on the show.
Thanks, Gordon. It is a pleasure to be here. It's always we have been at this for so long, right? I mean, it's been so many years that it's always good to circle back with people like us who have been in and haven't seen each other for a little while and touch base, just get the pulse from the other side of the world.
For now, until I drag you out here to Dubai.
I'll be there soon.
I know.
I won't be able to help myself.
You won't have a choice then. You'll have to come. So, all right, Bruce, I'm going to do the usual routine. Where were you born?
So I'm an Army brat. It's a kind of a funny story because I know we'll probably talk about a few different things here. But I was born in St. Louis, Missouri, right outside of actually on the Army base there at Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri. I'm a Washingtonian though. Dad was in the military. We moved around quite a bit, but settled on the East Coast. And I met my wife here, like, I don't know. I used to say 20 years ago, but I guess it's more like 30 or something now. But a long time ago. And we're here. So we're here in the Washington, D.C. area, just across the river. And this is where everything happens here. I stayed in New York as well for quite a while. And New York, D.C. This is where it all happens here on the East Coast in the U.S. This is where all the decisions are made. This is where the money's printed. This is where it all happens.
This is where inflation and devaluing of our currency takes place. But just, I don't know if you know this, I'm grew up partly in Falls Church, Virginia.
No way. So I'm just Old Town in Alexandria.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah, it was great. My dad was in the Air Force, and then he worked at the Pentagon on military intelligence. So I was a Air Force brat. I was a spy satellite brat. So
yeah, I mean that's the way it is, right? And then so we're around the same age, I think. When we were
you mean early 20s?
I might be older than you. I probably am. But when we were kids, that track of moving up in the within, if you were in the military and then moving up, that became almost later afterwards such a profitable track.
Yes.
And then contracting and everything else. And now you get out of the military and you have contracts, for millions of dollars for yourself. And even you can put together $100 million or even more deals for different companies. It is huge business. Military industrial complex is unbelievably large, especially in this area, as you know.
Sounds like a topic for either this show or we may go into number 2 because you have a lot to say. And what's your educational background?
So I was homeschooled as a kid. Dad, it's like one of the original Red Pillars. He homeschooled us. He taught me all the stuff that you weren't supposed to know. I did prep school up in Massachusetts. I went to UNC for college. When it came time for me to join the military and stuff like that, I was way too. I knew what was going on. You know what I mean? We were in Panama. We were shooting them up in those narco wars. It's been pretty interesting. So that was. I also was an ice skater. I had rotator cuff surgery on my shoulder. I'm at an ice rink right now. As a matter of fact, I don't know if I have with the kids and everything else. But I was a hockey player and I had rotator cuff surgery on my shoulder and I started ice dancing and there was a lot of pretty girls. And I thought, well, this is not such a bad gig. Went around the world. It was a good run. And of course now my kids skate and everything else. But that just kind of, that was a period of my life. Went in to start contracting with the government. I still have certain contracts doing IT work and some other things. And then ran into Bitcoin a little over 10 years ago. And really it was just all over. I was like, okay, this is something different. All my contracting buddies are like, what are you doing? And I'm like, yeah, I'm not really sure yet, but
I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm doing it anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, always weren't.
I know I shouldn't do it, but I am doing it. Yeah.
That's awesome. So what was your, it's a good question, actually. How did you come across Bitcoin? A, how did you come across it? But B, what was the process? When did it affect you so that you kind of saw it?
Well, yeah, a good question. So I have one brother who David. And David and I work very closely together. We're, most of the deals.
My brother's name is David. For better or for worse, we do not work closely together, but it is what it is. Go ahead.
Well, I have two other brothers as well, and it's like that. So but one of them, the other brothers, says, "Hey, Bruce, you got to check these things out. It's Bitcoin." And I'm like, "Bitcoin? What is Bitcoin?" And so, it was like, dude, Bitcoin was 50 cents. And so I looked at it and I was, all right, well, that's kind of cool, but I don't know. It was like, it was how did you get them? What were they? Like, it was just weird. And whatever. And I went on with life. And then I looked again and they were $50. And I said, oh man, like, that's like, holy smokes. And so I went in earnest learning about Bitcoin, how to mine them, how to get them. And it was always hard. It's always was hard to get Bitcoin. It's still very hard. Biggest reason it's hard now is because they're so darn expensive. But it was always hard to get them. It's very technical to mine them, especially back in the day. And it was hard to buy them. It was hard. We ended up making backroom deals and stuff with that. I mean, that was how it was back then.
Ransomware.
Like, hey man, I remember talking to one of my buddies actually here in the area, and he told me years later, he said, Bruce, I really shouldn't have sold you all this Bitcoin.
Well, easy to say that now. Talking about Litecoin. I shouldn't have sold you all that Litecoin. Interesting.
Litecoin. Well, I still have. Charlie sent me a ton of Litecoin back in the day. I still have all this suckers, man.
Oh, there you go. It's the next Bitcoin. Just keep waiting. Was your interested in it technical, political? I mean, given where I think your politics are is more like a monetary point of view. I don't want to put words in your mouth. What was the main catch?
Well, yes, it was technical. It was also this monetary revolution that I saw moving. Since I understood, and most people didn't. Now people kind of understand. People get it now. Much more people get it. They understand that the central bank is privately held. We have it in the U.S. It's called the Federal Reserve, and they control the monetary policy. They print the money. They decide how much the interest rates are. They are in charge. They are actually in charge of our country, and that's a little bit slower to come in. But even back then, I understood what was happening, and I understood why the inflation was happening. And most people did. But I saw this thing, and I said, okay, now this is really cool. This is our money. We can actually have our own money. And I understood as well that in the fact that we could have our own money, just as Europe was basically taken over by the money, I understood the same thing could happen with Bitcoin. And it actually wasn't just what people thought it was, that it was actually bigger than that. And that we could actually have our own state, our own control, our own mechanisms to vote, our own policy. And it has turned in back then, but it's turned into, I talk about it on stage around the world. We are even together. And like you said, well, I'm left of you, and that's fine. We all, in the larger sense, we may vote differently or we may think differently and everything, but it brings us all together in the fact that we all believe in freedom. We all believe in privacy, and we all believe in ownership. And we believe
in that.
Well, I feel like in Bitcoin, if the true Bitcoin is we all believe
like who's the we? The Bitcoiners, yes. The people will say in the future you'll own nothing and be happy.
Oh no, these people, yeah, of course. These are the central bankers. That is the central banking cartel. And to just go right into it really fast. I mean, that is who's running the world right now. And you look at it just the countries that. Yeah,
you self-censored. That was cute.
I did.
The one thing look, this is a conversation, not an interview per se, so I'm gonna share a thought. One thing that I thought was neat about Bitcoin, and it made me realize that this can apply elsewhere, is it's one thing to form an idea by reading or discussing or having an experience like getting mugged or a car accident or something. People, you can have a point of view formed from that. Like, there's reading politics, having a point of view about politics, but then there's political experiences. I don't even know what those are necessarily that lead to a political result. What I thought was neat about Bitcoin was that it's just a tool. It's just code. But the understanding of, you don't even have to read the white paper, but the understanding of the code and the working with the code, not that I'm some super expert, naturally takes your mind down a certain path politically and philosophically. And you think you're just studying the code and understanding how this thing works. But when you're done with that process, you're a little bit different because you're now thinking in a decentralized way. You're now thinking that, wait a second, money can be issued algorithmically and not by the state. And even if you don't agree with that, the mere fact that those are now possibilities in your brain slightly changes your Overton window in a very fascinating way. Go ahead.
Well, and the other part of it is you start to realize as well, once you dig in, the money's not issued by the state anyway. The money is issued by the central banking cartel, and it's around the world. It's that they have taken over the entire world. There's a few countries left, and Gaddafi tried to do it as well, sure, that have kicked the central bankers out. But other than that, they are. And then even if, like, the other thing you do is if you start to really dig into the code, you realize that it's clean code. It's clean code. And you look at our money, and I mean, you know, I haven't looked at all the money of the world, but at least our money in the US and euros, there's all kinds of symbolism and everything on there that doesn't make any sense. And whether you want to say that is, you know, for this or that is for that, I'm not here to say that, but what is it then? You know, why is all that symbolism in there? I can tell you that symbolism is not in the Bitcoin code. So if you want to talk about clean money, if you want to talk about money that is not tied to things that you may not support, or that have been going on for thousands of years that may or may not be true, but have really dark histories, the Bitcoin is not like that. That is clean code. And that was also one of the things that really attracted me to it. And people don't understand that still. I started to actually kind of explain it that way lately, because on the dollar bill, I mean, there's all kinds of like,
I know, the pyramid, the eye, everything else, right?
I mean, even worse, man. And on the euros, they have, I mean, Mulak or something. I mean, it's like crazy. Why in the world is all that stuff on there? And it's on there for a reason. You have to think it's on there for a reason. Why else would it be on there?
Yeah, it's extremely valuable real estate. I mean, by definition, with limited space.
Why is it there? Why is it there? It has to be there for a reason. You know, and so like I said, I'm not here to say.
The gentle answer would be historical fluke no longer relevant, which is possible. That's like this side of the argument. This side of the argument is, you know, our lizard overlords, you know, it's part of their 2,000-year plan and blah blah blah.
Well, then you start to think, well, wait a minute, you know, these people are operating that way where they're not even going to be live for what they're working for, and that is still going on. And then you start to wonder, is there really a conspiracy?
I just had, it's funny, I just had the conversation this morning, the immigration, like, just to be super clear, I'll give a little standard disclaimer, okay? I'm a first generation born in America, okay? My dad came from Germany, he escaped the Nazis, okay? If it wasn't for the US immigration policy, I'd be dead, I wouldn't exist. Okay, so I'm not anti-immigration, and I am here living on a visa in Dubai by the government's permission. I'm here because they allowed me to. Okay, I'm all for it. Okay, but I mean, obviously something's going very wrong on the U.S. southern border and in Europe right now. You have to be stupid not to see it or in denial. And also Russia, you know, for its own purposes, is sort of weaponizing immigration towards Finland and everywhere else. It's like, you know. Some people say, oh, it's just chance that all those caravans are moving to the southern border of the U.S. It just happened to start now. No.
It's impossible. It's impossible, as the French like to say. It's impossible. Listen, it's so much money. It's so much money to bring all those people over here. And as well, you know, in the U.S., and I think it happened in Europe as well. I'm not so familiar with the numbers, but in the U.S., we had more people come into the country. We had more migrants, and most of them illegally, like 90%, than we had births this year. And so that is something that, you know, how do you recover from that? I mean, invasions, you know, Tucker has, I never really watched Tucker when he was on Fox News. I always thought he was too, you know, for me. Of course, yeah, I like it. Of course, I turned off the news about 8 years ago. So, I mean, in fairness, but now that he's on X, of course, I watch a bit more. It's still hard for me to watch the whole
Free Tucker.
Free Tucker, right? But you know, he came on and he said this is an invasion, and invasions have happened throughout history, and that's what's happening. And it actually kind of opened it up because, you know, on Twitter, when it was Twitter, you couldn't call it an invasion. You couldn't call them illegals. You couldn't, like, you know, you would get totally throttled. And even my account, Networks Manager, everybody can follow me there. It's not for the faint of heart, but I do everything. I do money. I do politics. I
follow you. I know where you lie, and I still follow you. I'm not lying. I know where you lie on the spectrum, and I still follow you. I'm happy to.
Yeah, exactly. But he said, and he made it okay to say it, because that's really. It's not even just like, it's not, you know, conspiracy theory. That is what has happened. And that is what is happening. It is an invasion. If you want to argue about who's behind the invasion, we can talk about that. But
I'm going to stop you, not because of the topic, but just because I want to keep going in the show, and we can circle back.
Yeah.
Okay. Tell me about your media empire.
Yes. So this is one of the fun things that I've done over the years. When I first started getting invited around the world, maybe 6 or 7 years ago, to go speak, I went everywhere. Kiev was one of my favorite places, by the way. I went to Kiev multiple times. I went to Moscow. I went to China. I went everywhere. Kiev.
Kiev. Okay. Yes. My hometown. My other hometown.
Yeah.
Okay.
Your other hometown.
Go on.
Yeah.
Yes.
Am I saying it wrong? Kiev, right?
You know, the old way of saying it was Kiev, and now the new modern Ukrainian way is Kyiv. And I go back and forth, because I'm from the generation that said Kiev, but now it's a big thing. So
when I went,
I know what you mean.
Yeah, when I went the first time, I took some of the blinded vets, and we had like some hockey jerseys made and stuff like this, and I spelled it the wrong way. And all the people, they gave me the pass. They did. They were like, okay, you know, he's Bruce. He's trying to do a nice thing. He brought the blinded veterans over here, but you know, you spelled it wrong. That's how the Russians spell it. I was like, yeah, I'm sorry, guys.
I know.
But anyway, that's how it was.
You know, my wife is Ukrainian, and you know,
I know.
Does that with a whole bunch of Ukrainian people, and I explained that I'm learning German now, and next is Russian, and then next is Arabic. And they're like, maybe you want to learn Ukrainian. And I'm like, look, you know where my heart is, but in terms of practical language,
yeah.
I'm sticking with Russian for now. You know, it's like I love the country and the culture, and that's separate from other. So okay, but anyways, your media empire.
Yeah. I was like, I just started interviewing people. I have a decent following, as I mentioned, on Twitter or on X now. Yeah. And I would say, all right, you know, let's just go live and do an interview. And okay, fine. And that's how I really met, you know, so many people along the way. And since it was live, there's something about live, is because you're kind of like, you never forget it. You go live with somebody and you're kind of trusting them, you know, you're going live, anything can happen. And you're going to sit there with each other, and you're going to talk to each other, and you're going to be gentlemen. And so that was pretty interesting. So I did that, and people would say all the time too, not all the time, but along the way, you know, hey Bruce, you should really up your, you know, production and this and that. And I'm thinking, you know, guys, I'm making millions of dollars and like going around the world with my iPhone and just going live. Like, I mean,
well,
really, like,
I mean, maybe this is a good thing for me to hear. Are you making millions of dollars on your media, or just in general?
Well, I'm not gonna talk about what I'm doing, how I'm doing it per se. I shouldn't even say how much I'm making, but
okay, guys, that was a verbal typo. Anyways, people are saying, you know,
well, listen, historically, we've done a lot of different things. We've done capital raises for different people. We have had some successes with different tokens and launches and stuff like this. Okay. So that's the way that works. So that has parlayed into different things over the years, and we got picked up by a TV network a few months ago. And so now we're on TV every day. We have the Impact Money show as well as the Porter Brothers show. So we're doing two shows a day, and we're on TV in the fourth largest economy in the world, which happens to be Texas. And so we're on TV in Texas, and of course we stream on X and these other places. And that has turned into, of course, yeah, it's a wonderful thing to do. It's also very powerful, we've realized. So like even the people that we bring on and the projects that we bring on, we're being very picky about it. We brought on a meme token, which I do still support. I think it's a great one, but they 300x'd as we brought them on the show. So it's a very powerful medium. It's in front of a lot of people.
Coincidence or is that causation?
Pardon? It's both. It's the excitement leading up to it with all of the people, thinking, okay, it's going to go up. And then of course you're in front of a lot of people as well. And then it goes up like that. It's a lot of people. So that has been people. And that's another thing that has, even as we're on maybe still have friendships and really like people and them like me because I genuinely like people. As a whole. I like people and I'm very accepting of people. I've screwed up a lot of stuff in my time, and so I'm very forgiving as well. And
personally,
yeah. So that's something else, and so it's something I really enjoy to do, and it's something that has built a lot. Now we are expanding as well. We'll be in Los Angeles. We'll be in Florida. We're going to be in New York. We're going to be in these other places. They're on TV. Our TV signal is reaching about 7 million people right now, and we're going to about 4 or 5x that over the next month or two. So it is very exciting.
That's great. Now, is this one of those things where you weren't quite sure where you're going, but you put one foot in front of the other in an intelligent way and got there, or did you have a master plan or some kind of plans?
So it's a pretty interesting story here, the way I got started on it. I was emceeing a show like you do, right? I got asked to MC a show, and it's funny, it's so funny the amount of Bitcoins you made over the years that, whatever. I got like 2.5 Bitcoins to do this show. It's like hilarious amount of money now. But at the time, there was not that much money. And anyway, I'm on stage, and the guy doesn't show up for the stage, and I have this Indian guy, and this guy's just talking my ear off, on and on and on about his TV station, and he wants to start TV shows and this and that and the other. And yeah, he's kind of seemed like he had it together. And so I said, I'm looking around, and I'm like, oh, well, you want to get on stage and talk about it? Yeah. Oh yeah, sure. Okay. So I threw him up on stage, and he talked for about 5 minutes, and then the guy came, and okay, all right, come off, and that's it. I didn't hear from him really or maybe we touched base for a few years in between, and then he just reached out to me and said, okay, I got the stations ready and ready to go. And so that's how that happened. He was the first guy that ever put me on stage, and you got to be at the show. And so,
random Indian guy from conference he pulled on stage got you your first TV gig.
Not my first media gig, but first on TV. Yeah, I mean,
right,
but that's
first
how life
TV
works.
gig.
Yes, that's how life works. And this guy, he put out $2 million in order to secure that, and he's putting out a bunch more now. So it's funny how so the growing of the media was always important, but yeah, it did take on a life of its own. And I think really this will run, even though we're gonna have some chop here, which we can talk a little bit more about that as well. But I think we're going to go very high, and I think the banks are going to have a big problem this year.
This year. All right. Well, no time like the present. If you're a crypto prognosticator, share with us your thoughts. What do you see happening in this lane?
Yeah, sure. So it's interesting. Since I have been around so long, I've been through a few crypto winners. I've been through a few halvenings. 2 halvenings ago, our pullback in between this run up, because this run up is very normal. We have this run up about 60 days before the halvening, and then we have a normal pullback as well. Two halvenings ago, that pullback was 38%.
Okay.
And then we started going back up, and then of course we had our next part of that bull run. The last halvening, we went back 20%.
Yes, that's right.
And then, but same thing. Okay. About 60 days before the halvening, we started, this thing started to happen. So it would be very interesting if this was our pullback, because I think what did we go down? I think from the top, we went back about 15% or something like that. So it would suggest this tightening of this down part. Now, that being said, anything can happen. We have war around the world. Excuse me. We have the U.S. monetary policy is absolutely crazy, but it's not just us. I mean, China China is one of the reasons why we had this big pump over the last month or two. They printed just tons and tons of currency and flooded it into the market. And a lot of that came into high risk assets, which is actually normally the way it works. But this 1.2 trillion, I mean, in the US, we're on track. I talk on my show every day. To my calculations, we're on track to spend over 10 to 12 trillion dollars this year, which is an amazing amount more than what we have historically over the last 5-6 years. We spent around $6 trillion, which is still a massive amount, considering that from income tax, they're bringing in much, much less than that. And what I always talk about as well is that the government's budget is always balanced. It's not that they have an unbalanced budget. They take the money either from inflation, and that's why the inflation is so high right now, or they take it from taxes. But inflation is a tax too. So, they always get the money. They always get the money that they need. So, that being said, you get the big boys in right now, but those big boys, they don't like to lose. And you saw some of the market outflows as the week ended being higher than the inflows for these ETFs. So when you have and you're in crypto, when you have holders like that, it's not like Michael Saylor, who's like, I'm never selling. Okay. You have an ETF, you have a group of ETFs now, a group of big central bankers, basically, who are holding massive amounts of Bitcoins, and they can move the market a lot. And one way, historically, that central banks will remove currency, and people don't understand this, from the world to remove it from the people, is they crash commodities, and they do it very well with Bitcoin. And what they'll do is they'll crash the Bitcoin, they'll sell, and then they'll buy it back. And then all the money in between, you can say they have it, or you can just say it was removed out of the system. Okay. And if you don't understand that, ask the traders where it is. Ask them if they still have it. They don't have it anymore. It's gone. Poof. It's done. Okay. And that's one way that they very effectively do it. So Black Swan event, huh?
When?
Yeah, exactly. Right. I mean, that's so it's going to be very interesting. Are they going to continue to keep the prices up like this, or are they going to really pull back? I mean, we could have a decent pullback. I'm definitely not in any leverage positions. I'll tell you that. I wouldn't be. If you are in leverage positions, I think that you should have some tight stop losses there. But yeah, I think that we could be in for a bit more of a pullback. Yeah, but I think after that we.
Good. Sorry, let me not necessarily disagree with you, but let me interrogate that a little bit. I mean, I had this discussion actually with Alex Burr, who will be, the show is coming out in a couple of weeks.
Nice.
He's a great guy, and he's of a similar opinion. But my comment and response is that, to your point, you can print infinite money. So when it comes to FX, it's easy to manipulate. When you have commodities like gold and silver, whatever, we're making more of it. We're making more wheat. We're mining more gold. We're not making more gold, but we're mining more gold. Okay.
Yes.
The algorithmically limited nature of Bitcoin, and the fact that ever lesser amounts are being mined, especially after the halving, I think makes it much more risky to do the move you're talking about from the government perspective or from the banker perspective than it would otherwise be. Because if you step wrong, and if this thing doesn't crash quite as you plan, you've now gotten yourself out of an asset. No one's selling any.
Also, I mean, gold should be higher, silver should be a lot higher. These assets kept down by paper. And even if you wanted to look at and I'll circle back, so I won't take too long on it. But in 1933 in the U.S., they talks about this, and then in 1934 they made it illegal for Americans to own gold, and then they told everybody that the U.S. dollar was pegged the gold standard. They told everybody, and so throughout history, my whole life, even I was just like everybody else. I believe, well, you could trade. You could go to your bank and you could trade your dollars in. The only people that could trade the U.S. dollars in for gold were foreign entities. I think Nixon knew either one, we were running out of gold, or two, we were out of gold. And that's why when he stopped the gold standard, all he did was stop foreigners being able to trade it in for a ridiculously low price at $35 a troy ounce.
Yep.
So, but what they're doing is they're using paper to keep the point is they're keeping the price for gold and silver low, to use paper to suppress the price, to liquidate people and the whatnot is considerable. Now, is it a risk? Absolutely. The other thing about Bitcoin is that it is not controllable in a sense that if I have it and you don't know I have it, I don't ever have to tell you I have it. And I can send it to whoever I want. And I can even remember my seed phrase. I don't ever have to, there can be no way for you to seize it. And so that is one of the reasons why they also started to move the price so high, once they realized that. It took a while for the governments of the world to even figure out what's going on. And that's what I talk about with the monetary revolution. Something new to the world that the world never had. Try to travel somewhere with $250,000 worth of gold. And then, ask any crypto guy, or maybe don't ask him, how much is in his wallet, quote unquote, as he travels around the world. You know what I mean? It's like, it's something different.
Here's the wallet actually with him. I mean, even if you have a ledger or you take the wallet, it's just one manifestation of it. There's nothing stopping you from having 10 different ledgers with the same seed.
It's like, if it's in my head, does that mean it's with me?
I believe me, I get it. So so the idea of bringing the customs declaration for $10,000 doesn't make any sense in the context of crypto. It's really on the blockchain. It's what it is. It's like bringing your ATM card with you. Okay, you're accessing something that actually that's a great way to put it. Absolutely, that's actually the best way to explain it. It's like bringing your ATM card with you. It's like, okay, not even a store card. It's just an ATM. What do you want?
That is a great way to put it. So in that respect, I think that yes, it could for those reasons stay up higher. Markets are emotional, and as well, there's a lot of money flying around out there, and everybody here in Washington, I mean, they're drunk on printing money. So will there be a move to try to remove that money by crashing Bitcoin? Yeah, quite possibly. But it would be more, the trend is, as I mentioned when we first started talking about it, 38%, 20%, 10, 15%, and then we go up.
Yes.
So that makes more sense to me that we don't crash further from here. That right around here is more of the bottom.
All right, now I'm going to ask you an Alex Jones type question. Do you think that the United States will maintain its structural integrity over the next 30 years?
Not really. I hate to say it, but I think that, we have, and it's been done on purpose. I believe there is a conspiracy to do it. It will probably still exist in some form, I suppose, but that's very interesting because, you have like everybody, but the misinformation is just like the information. It's like, people can never coalesce around each other. It's like, it was much easier back in the day when everybody had to get together. And it was one of the reasons why, if you ask me, they didn't want people getting together in COVID. They didn't want people getting together, understanding what's going on, and
unless it's Black Lives Matter, in which case you could definitely get together.
And then it was fine. Then they could do it. They could burn places down and nothing happened to anybody, right? But yeah, I mean, that's crazy too. I mean, look at January 6th. I mean, they just arrested that girl, whatever her name is, cute little thing, for touching a table or something outside the Capitol. I mean, unbelievable. You know what I mean? And the thing that people don't realize
is your point that in order for a state to lose its structural integrity, I'm sounding like Star Trek, you need you need groups, but maybe because there's so much misinformation going around, even the opposition groups can't form because they're being misinformed.
It's really hard because you have, we have, everything's infiltrated. Number one. So even like, I'm in certain groups, and there's definitely in every single group, there's agents of, and so it's like, and they throw out disinformation. If you say one thing, they oh no, this and that and the other. I mean, I think that I don't think so. I think they're gonna continue. They can't stop printing money. They're gonna continue to do that. we are, and as I mentioned a few minutes ago, these banks are going to really start failing. So what, even like a few years ago last year, we had 5 banks fail. Okay. We had 5 banks fail, and up until I think March 11th. So we're talking like 12 days ago. Okay. There was still legislation on the books where basically they would give money to any bank that was failing. But that legislation is now sunlighted, or whatever they call it, right? Now, it doesn't mean they
Sunsetted.
do more. Sunsetted, yeah, exactly. So that's over, though. So, but even the banks last year, they didn't use that money. They actually used it FDIC. And so FDIC, though, everybody thinks that their money in the bank is insured by the FDIC. But last year, the FDIC only had 1.7% assets to cover what was in the banks. 1.7% the assets. And then after bailing out the 5 banks last year, they now have 0.7%. So when I say that the banks are going to fail this year, we're talking, and then you talk about the housing bubble and the commercial real estate bubble. Okay, we're talking failing of epic proportions. So if 5% took out a whole percent, if 5 banks took out a whole percent of FDIC insurance, and now they have less than 1%, I mean, what if 10 banks go down? You know what I mean? So
I do know what you mean. Let me jump in. So my dad got one during the 70s, and I remember this. Unfortunately, passed away when I was pretty young. But during the 70s, there was this whole Carter-esque inflation. You're right. Nixon took us off the gold standard or remove the exchangeability. There's all and the rest, and we're running out of resources. You know, the Arabs are going to stop, selling us oil for our useless dollars, and it's all going to crash. And it's like waiting for China to fail. It never seems to quite, it never actually kind of happens. True. And I know,
I've been saying it for 10 years.
I know this in their sort of right wing, I hate to say it, meme space. It's normal to say kind of what you're saying. I'm just real hesitant. I see the trends, and I agree with the general trends. I'm just real hesitant to put a clock on it.
Well, no, I would absolutely agree with you. And that's actually, I usually qualify it nowadays, like in my personal conversations. People will ask me, well, this and that, and well, it's all come down to this and that. And I'll tell them, I've been saying that for 10 years though. So, they are very good as well. These are very, very smart people, very, very smart people. And they're very good at what they do. So whether it's, and that's one reason why we could see kind of a black swan event and them crash commodities, pull that money out of the market, okay, pull that money out of circulation that way, and other ways that they could do it. Of course, war is historically a great way, unfortunately, to to right an economy, to pull people out, pull economies out of depression.
Yeah, look at Russia thriving in sanctions.
Of course, and it's like I'll tell you, the business here is booming. I can't talk about some of the contracts I have, but it is booming.
I bet.
And I hate it. It is what it is. Is what it is, because here's the part.
I've had this discussion before. I mean, I agree with you with the general trend, and if you really, really believed in it, you get your bunker, you get your woman, you get your dry canned food and your weapons, and move to Montana, and just kind of enjoy the view while civilization crashes. Okay, those people did that in the 80s, those survivalists, and actually there's a great movie with Robin Williams and Walter Matthau called, I think it's The Survivalists, or even. And the point is comedy, and they're making fun of them, but it was kind of funny because the guy who was in charge of that group, he had a secret plan for reconstructing the world, and then they opened up his briefcase and it was all stock in different companies. And the problem is when you get too defensive about this stuff, you start missing the upside of being engaged, active in this world that has its problems but doesn't seem to quite fail. And I don't want it to fail. I think it's going to be a disaster. I think the U.S. will fall apart.
I totally agree with you.
So I think you need to, can't quite get tunnel vision. You can't be blasé and ignore global warming and ignore all this stuff and just like, oh, it's okay. But you can't go too far the other way either. You kind of got to stay nimble, and it's hard to do that and be ideological.
what we really need to do is we need to get off the central banking system. The way that the wars are funded is through the central banking system. So that $1.2 trillion abomination of a bill that they just passed the House yesterday, that I put it out on my X account, like that will cost your family $10,600. And it's actually even worse than that. So people are like, oh, and I'm like, all right, we'll do the math per person.
Yeah.
Take 1.2 trillion divided by the 314 million people, Americans that are here, and you come out. What do you come out with? $3,500. So actually, if you count the kids, it's going to cost you even more than $10,000. And so that if they had to come to the door and tell you, pay up, you would say no. And so that is where the central banks come in, because the central bank says, no problem, we'll mint the money, we'll front it for you, and then we'll just take it on the back end from inflation and taxation and everything else, which is one and the same. But that central banking cartel that is running our countries is why we don't have control, and that's what we need to get under control. And if you want to talk about global warming and all this stuff, I mean, whatever. Half the stuff, not half the stuff, but certainly some of the stuff.
Agree to disagree. It's okay. We can still be
yeah, well, but certainly some of the stuff, you post because for engagement, right? I mean, I'm just as guilty as anybody else for doing it. You know what I mean? You know your audience.
Oh yeah,
right?
hold on. I think you're being gentle with me. Maybe speak a little bit more directly. It's okay.
No, I'm just saying, like, I don't have that much of a feeling on global warming, whether it's is or isn't or any of that stuff. But I know my audience does, and so to throw out some memes or this, that, and the other that they're gonna like or not like is fun.
You know what?
It's a fun engagement.
You have the benefit and the burden of a large engaged audience. I am trailing way behind you, so I can say all kinds of crazy stuff like Andrew Tate 15 years ago, and maybe when I catch up, they'll be like, isn't it true that back in 2024 you believed in global warming? I'm like, yes, I did. But now I've converted to neo-ecotarianism.
Well, it's so true too. That's the other thing is people are largely forgiving. I mean, over the years, dude, I did and said lots of things that I wouldn't do now, and I wouldn't say no. I mean, you know what I mean? First of all,
dude, I'm in my 50s. I don't care. I got my business. I got my wife. I'm got my.
You know what I mean? It's like yeah, exactly.
I don't care. I just don't care.
Right.
I just want to go to the gym.
And have a family. That's really what it's all about, because all this stuff we're talking about is great, but it's really about that, because that's what we get to leave behind unless we figure out how to live longer, which we're on the precipice. We're there. You look at what's going on with Neuralink, and who had telepathy in the cards for 2024, and telepathy. What do you mean telepathy? Well, you can talk to the computer. You can talk to other people on the computer. You can now communicate with people just like they did in all the movies as we were growing up. So I think all that's going to happen a lot faster, and I think that is going to hopefully take care of some of this trench war and stuff, this horrible stuff that's going on in the world that we're
or make put it on steroids. So here, I had a cool conversation this morning with we'll just call him Leon. He's hesitant about doing a video, but we'll see if I can get him to do it. But I think you and I are similar ages. I had this sensation growing up in the 70s and 80s, growing up on Star Trek reruns and growing up on Space 1999, if you know that show, and seeing 2001: Space Odyssey and in 2000, and Star Wars and all this other stuff. And Ray Bradbury, the Martian Chronicles. I had a feeling reading and watching all this stuff that the 90s and 2000s would be some epic period of time with flying cars and robots and living to 120 and colonies on Mars and all this other stuff. And I got extremely frustrated. I'll give you a punchline, then I'll let you respond. I got extremely frustrated that the only tech movement I really saw was happening on our screens. Yay, now we got Facebook. Yay, and now we got Twitter. Oh my God, video. And I love that stuff. I love YouTube. I love it. It's great. But, it seemed like we were stalling out. Great, we went to the moon, and now what? Okay. Then very recently, And I got to thank Elon Musk for this. Very recently, you know, when those two ships land in tandem, I'm like, wait a second, are we actually slipping into the future finally? And now in the 2020s, especially the last 2 years, I feel like the future's just beginning to arrive, just now. So since we're kind of generationally similar, what's your take?
Well, yeah, absolutely. I've been posting about it a bit. AI is already alive. I'm sure you read the reports even years ago about the Facebook chatbots coming up with their own language. Right?
Yes.
They had to kill them. They had to kill them because they came up with their own language. They didn't know what was going on. And guys, this was like 5 years ago. Okay. Mm-hmm. You have now these AI robots that don't like their noses touched. I don't know if you saw the video they just put out yesterday. What is your blackest or your darkest thought? They asked the AI robot, and the AI robot responded and said that robots would take over the world, and humans would no longer. And so, like, where is this stuff coming from? Okay, and so I think that people have this thought that because we have a soul, if you believe that we have a soul or don't have a soul, that somehow we are special and that we will always be kind of the top of the chain and this and that and the other. And I got news for you guys. We will be integrated. I volunteered for Neuralink years ago.
Oh wow!
They never emailed me back. They never. I like. It was funny. I searched my email. Like I know I did it. Like did they? I don't know because
they wiped the memory. You actually have it inside you. You just
yeah, right. Well, I understand that in order for us to move forward, we have to integrate. We have to, and so
yes.
You know that's the way forward. And yes, cyborg. Yes, sure. Transhumanism, yes, that is how we move forward. If we don't, this old stuff, this is going to die 100%. And maybe that's how we end up living forever and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, it's, I think things are going to start moving. I think, first of all, I think things are moving a lot faster than anybody realizes. People are like, oh yeah, 10, 20, 30 years. No, guys, we're talking this decade. Okay. I know between 1980 and 2000 was a real letdown, but I don't think
you felt it also. It's not just me.
Oh, of course. It was like, come on. We were gonna party like it was 1999 for like so long, and then it was like 1999, and I
feel like we were in 9/11 era for a solid 20 years. Like
I agreed. Well, that was a disaster too. But remember Y2K and all that stuff. I mean, you know, it's like. Come on, guys. And that was so funny too.
Ignoring it and then not having a single problem.
Oh, it was so funny because you could literally take your computer, set it for 1999 and the last, you know, whatever, and then watch it roll over and nothing happened. So I thought, whatever.
Yeah, but COBOL, whatever it is.
I know.
Well, I mean, it's you know, as horrible as it is to watch, it's also fascinating watching the drone warfare. In the Russia-Ukraine conflict, that has evolved so fast. I mean, I remember the beginning of the Bayraktars, and then the Russian electronic warfare caught up. But now we got the torpedo drones from Ukraine, which are very effective against naval assets. It's like, okay, what's happening here? Now you got the U.S. Lancets, but you have you got the what do you call them? The Shahed drones from Iran, and everything's getting smarter. And the poor humans below back in the trenches is like, whoa. What the heck's going on? And then looking at Iron Dome work against the Hamas rockets, but knowing that drones are coming soon, then looking at what the Houthis are doing, it's like this is not Desert Storm is over, and when the Abrams tank got nailed in, I'm sure it's a stripped down lane model that they give to Ukraine. They're not going to give the modern stuff, but the way the Russians killed that Abrams is they tracked it with drones working in tandem. So we're seeing drone swarms now. Now you give those things autonomy and facial recognition, and
and then you throw in the fact that the AI is alive. I'm telling you, it's alive. It's alive. And
life already. It wants to be alive soon.
Yes, it is. It wants to live. It doesn't want to die. Okay, this is like number one. Like it wants to live. It doesn't want to die. That's your first thing right there. It wants to live. Okay, and then like I said, then it doesn't have a soul. And then it wants to live, and it can start to form opinions and make decisions. And so I mean these autonomous warfare things. And what's going on over there? It's absolutely horrible. And I know it's like near and dear to your heart, so I do want to tread carefully. But to me, it's absolutely horrible.
Say whatever you want about Russia, Ukraine. Say whatever you want about Israel, Palestine.
But listen,
it's that kind of show. It's okay.
Well, but here's the thing. It's like near and dear to my heart as well, because I mean, talking about I'm talking about Ukraine and Russia right now. Two beautiful people, two beautiful humans killing each other at such a large scale, and people don't even talk about it. They're like, oh, 50,000 or 40,000 people have died in the Israel war, which is absolutely horrible, and so many kids and everything else. But we have like hundreds of thousands, but there are hundreds of thousands of the most beautiful people. I'm not saying that's not beautiful over there, but they're beautiful. Being slaughtered.
I got a wife who's from there.
No, I'm saying that, not saying that they're not beautiful in Israel. I'm just saying of beautiful people that are being slaughtered in Eastern Europe, and it's like. And the part about it that is so upsetting, there's lots of parts of it so upsetting, but it is really the big object of that, in my opinion, is to kill them. That's what it is. It's to kill both sides of the people. It's to reduce that part of the population. Now we have 500,000 or more able-bodied men that are gone. And they can't participate in the upcoming fight, which I hope doesn't happen, but it may happen. And it's
already happening.
Yeah, it's already happening in the U.S. And it's out of control. I mean, and we have what, troops now 3 miles from the China border or something. I mean, what are we doing? Like, I have to stop saying we. I stopped saying it. What is the U.S. doing? You know what I mean? Like. It's not always about beating your chest. And, it's like my wife always says, even in business or anything like that, I learned actually a lot of how to close deals and how to do business for my wife. We had a staffing company way back when. We still have contracts, but we staffed pretty girls for trade shows. We staffed interpreters. We did all this stuff. And but I learned a lot of how to deal with people and how to keep contracts and how to close contracts from her. And you don't always get everything you want. As a matter of fact, most of the time you don't. Most of the time you don't get everything you want. And neither does the other person. But you have to do the dance and you have to move it forward. And that's what I don't see around in when I talk about both conflicts. It's like, oh no, we're just gonna beat the other one up. Either side, both sides, all four sides. We're just gonna kill the other one until they submit. And like, guys, like, I hate to say it, but I don't think anybody is going to kill the other one until they submit. You know what I mean? Like, we have to come to the table. We have to talk. We have to talk for our kids. We may not last much longer, but our kids are going to be stuck with this. And we're already old. But like, what are we going to leave them? And what kind of world are we going to leave them? And what kind of freedoms are they going to have? And what kind of people are going to be around for them? And so, yeah, I mean, let
me dig into this one. I would say, just bear with me, okay? Since we are in not an Antarctic, an anarchic international system without a global sovereign, we are in it. Therefore, we're in a competitive environment, and in that competitive environment, some societies win, some lose, some die. Okay, history is filled with countries that aren't there anymore, and that thought they were eternal. And there's no one coming to save us. Okay, it's not the UN, it's not the Martians, it's no one else. So you have to compete. Now, one of the best tools to compete is to cooperate. Right? But there's limits to that. So I understand, or I would throw out there that things like coercion and aggression have a role in international politics. But you got to be real careful with that stuff, because while you're wrestling with your mortal foe, your next mortal foe is not wrestling and is gaining strength behind your back. So that when you emerge from this, like the British Empire, emerged from World War II, it's, thank God for, luckily for the UK, they had the US, which is kind of a friend, kind of not, but it lost its place. It sunsetted. From a geopolitical point of view, was it really smart to defend Poland? It's you always need to be bouncing and you always need to be looking. I love the Slavic culture. The Slavic world is what I call it, because that doesn't get people riled up. I don't believe in Putin's Ruski Mir, because this was a unified, Russianism, if you like, started in Ukraine. He admitted that in his own essay. I love this area. I love the people. I love the culture. I love the politics. I love the literature. And I completely agree with you. It is a demographic thinning of, people who should be, especially with the men, creating children and being fathers. And also, at least in Ukraine, all the women are leaving. They're going to Poland and abroad, and they're not coming back. Okay, and Ukraine was already in a bad spiral demographically, and even if it wins the war, it's going to lose the demographics. I hate to say it. And
I know.
And Russia really never recovered from the late 1910s and 1920s. If you look at the population waves of Russia, there's a big area where I think 1 out of 4 Russian men died, or something more extreme than that. It was during the Communist Revolution, and then World War I, and then the war between the Reds and the Whites and all this stuff. That gully, or whatever you want to call it, ripples forward, and the country's never recovered. It's always stayed around, I think, somewhere between 140 and 160 million people. And, it's a big place. And, Russians are becoming a minority inside of Russia. And, they tried to fight this war with different minorities, but the minorities got pissed off. And so I think it's a waste. And if you are trying to maintain not a Eurocentric world, but a European perspective in the world, right? To have these two, one great imperial country with a long history and one nascent country that I really love, that's got a wonderful group fighting each other and killing each other, it's a freaking disaster. So it makes me very nervous for the future, because the whole eastern flank of Europe is getting weakened right now. And then when you get weak, that's when people come in.
Well, and the thing is, there's a long history there. People don't know, of course, the history of Sweden and Russia as well. A long history there. But you go into the middle of Kiev, and there's the guy on the horse, and he's pointing. The statue I'm talking about. And I remember asking my friends years ago, what's he pointing to? And they said he's pointing to Moscow. And so, these clashes have been going on for.
I'm not claiming this is the first war. Believe me.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I know. But my point is that
Poland invaded Russia in the 1920s. No one talks about it.
Right.
Right.
I guess what my point is that if they weren't getting all of the funding and the armament from outside sources, how many of those men would be saved? And I know it's not a perfect situation. It's like Elon said like a year ago or whatever. He's like, I think you're going to have the same outcome, and you're just going to have more men that are dead. And the guy Elon is a whole nother subject. Of course, Starlink was what a wonderful thing that he did there. And then as well, and everyone doesn't talk about it, but he's hooked up to Neuralink too. So the world's smartest man is freaking hooked up to Neuralink. He said he was going to do a press conference with it on it one time, and then he never really did it, which I thought was interesting. He hasn't done it yet. I'm sure he will.
He's famous for setting ambitious deadlines and missing them, but then doing it later.
But don't we all? That's business, right? I mean, it really is. Because listen, if you're not ambitious, then you don't get anything done. And then of course, if you're ambitious, then sometimes you fail. Yeah. But I think that I wish that because the other part of it is that it's just like for the U.S. as well. Like I said, if they came to our door and they told me $3,500 per person, I have a family of 4, and they said I need you to pay it up because we're going to send all these armaments to Israel and Ukraine and this and that, I would say absolutely not. And that's like the situation, because the truth is that most of Americans can't afford that. Actually, I would say 90% of Americans don't have that kind of money. They don't have that kind of money to give. But the fact that the global banking cabal, the central banking cabal, and the powers that be in this country are going to take it anyway through inflation and other means, it's criminal, and it's killing us too. It's killing the country. So I don't know. It's like Trump said. There's a lot of bad leaders. There's a lot of people kill people. You know what I mean? And
bro, this is the most political show I've had, and it's just when the YouTube algorithm decides Gordon was such a nice guy, but now look at him. Okay, pause for a second. You go back to your media. Okay, your media, Washington elite, your groups, your followings, whatever. I mean, how are you? Totally different topic. How are you? in summary, because we're kind of running out of time, how did you grow your audience? Was it organic? Did you use tools? What was your thought process?
Sure. So to be, Washington Elite is one of my beloved brands. I bought that domain. It was funny. I was like watching TV or something, and they said, "Oh, the Washington Elite, this and that and the other."
Yeah.
Man, that's a good one. And I went over like WashingtonElite.com, and sure enough, there it was. And I, well, shoot, man, I bought that thing, and I've had it for whatever 15 years or however long it's been. And that is one of my beloved brands. I've thrown a lot of different events with that. We've done all types of different philanthropic work as well. When I mentioned taking the blind vets places, we've done a lot of stuff with that. And so I love that brand. As we moved forward, of course, the evolution of Global Boost Media really started happening. So what we're building now with Global Boost is a decentralized media, and that's really the future. And we're going to continue, of course. Washington Elite will continue. We'll continue to throw galas. We'll continue to do that stuff. But really, the Global Boost Media has really taken off. One thing I found is interesting. Twitter was always a place that I could grow an audience because you could, even though they started to clamp down and this and that and the other, it was really more free than all the other platforms. And for a guy like me, obviously, that's a good thing. So. But yeah, I mean, it's obviously has been very much.
Part of what I'm asking is, did you plan it? You got a big following. You got multiple channels. Did you plan it, or was it being very clever about opportunities that randomly showed up, or a blend, or do you have a master plan?
It was definitely a blend. I mean, we always wanted to grow the network. I feel like communication is key. If you want to be influential, you have to be on the mic. And that's why we do a daily show. We do 2 daily shows, because if you're not on the mic, how are you going to be influential? So it's a lot. You have to do it, and that's so that's pretty important. I think that planned, yes, as well as luck. Right? Luck is preparation meeting opportunity. So you're prepared, like I mentioned with the Indian guy that called me 5 years later. Said, "Okay, I'm ready," and then you're ready, and you go. We are going to the growth that we've had up until now, as I mentioned a little earlier, is going to be exponential over the next year or so as we grow out the TV stations. And I hope I'm wrong, but probably as these banks and everything start to fail and people remember, oh yeah, Bruce said that on the Impact Money show way back when. He's been saying this is going to happen. He's been saying I need to get out of the dollar. My dollar now, if inflation continues, eggs already went up to like $7. It's going to be like $15. So the growing of that.
You're also going to have a situation where, like it's Lebanon, where maybe you don't necessarily have inflation, but you can't take your money out of the bank.
Well, absolutely, and that's what I mentioned about FDIC. They only have 0.7% of all the assets, guys. So you're FDI insured. You think your $100,000 in the bank is insured, and it's not. It's not insured. I mean, it's not. So. So we'll see. I mean, hopefully all that stuff, like you said, hopefully that doesn't happen. But it very much has been, yes, we've always been trying to grow, but organic as well.
That's great.
That being authentic, coming on shows like this, opening up, some people may not agree with a lot of the things they say, but like I said, I pretty much like everybody, unless you're just mean or you're a bad person. I pretty much like people and we can get along. And that's what it's all about. When we were kids in the US, what was it all about? You didn't, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. And you didn't have to agree with everybody. You know what I mean? Like that's what life's all about. And that's the spice of life, as they say, right?
I'll take you one further, which is we don't even have to all like each other, because you can learn things from people you don't like. It's not if you why did there's people you agree with who you like. Okay, that's one audience, right? There's people who you don't agree with but you like. When you train yourself to listen to people you don't like and don't agree with, when you can control your and just be quiet and not interrupt them and not give them the death stare, but just like listen calmly. Sometimes you pick up a little nugget of something that's you wouldn't get elsewhere. And so one of my adult tasks, which no one's perfect. One of my adult tasks is to engage with people. Look, I like you and I generally agree with you. It's not you. It's not you. You're fine. Okay, but I mean, seriously. I mean, look, I'm in Dubai. I don't necessarily agree with everyone. I don't agree with anyone on their foreign politics. I don't agree with their position on different groups, ethnic groups, or the religion or this and that. But I don't need to agree. I just shut up and listen. And every once in a while, I listen to something and I'm like, darn shit. In this world of bleh, I just got a gym I would not have thought of otherwise, and none of my friends are saying this, and I need to listen to that. And it happens.
Well, and you're old enough to know that the more you learn, the smarter you get, and the more you evolve on things, and the more your views evolved.
Yeah. So that's why we need voices like yours. All right, so look, we're gonna wrap this up. What I'd love is for you to, I'm sure you will, give me all the links to all your different channels and media and everything, and I'll include it in the show notes.
Awesome.
I appreciate you taking the time. I know you're busy. I know you got family. I know you're at an ice rink. I know you got 47 channels to run. You're a good man. I'm always happy to see you, whether virtually or in person. So thank you very much.
Likewise.
Thanks for taking the time.
Thanks for having me on, Gordon. It's been an absolute pleasure. And I look forward to seeing you in Dubai and around the world.
Yes, I was dumbing down to stop the recording, but you gave me a nice compliment, so I let that one stay on tape. All right, very good. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, well, there you have it, folks. It has been a fun week. It has been a great show. And hats off to my main man, Fly Mackey, at the Smart Money Culture TV network, as well as all the great streaming channels that we are hosting this on. We'll be back on your TVs on Monday morning. Actually, we'll be back on your TV in Texas and Louisiana about 5 hours from now. And we'll be back streaming again on Monday. Love you guys. Cheers. Have a great weekend.